Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to MRL season number 11. We are here at the Spanish Grand Prix for the opening round of this enormous season in terms of MRL's history. It is a beautiful day here in Spain around the beautiful Gran Premio de España, the Catalunya circuit, a multitude of corners, 14 to be precise, 2 major DRS zones, and a lot of chaotic overtaking with glitches and bumps all along the road. There is a possibility for all drivers involved to get involved in some carnage, and it won't just be them who'll be dealing with the chaos today. My name is BigMacDan. I am alone in the booth for this season in Tier 5 by choice. I have a choice in the matter, I swear, and I will be your lead commentator and only commentator for Tier 5 this season. It is a pleasure to be here. It is a pleasure to be a part of this community continually for as long as I have been. For the last few seasons that I've been here, Tier 5 has always been Tier Chaos. But somehow I don't think it's going to top what happened today already. Tier 6 with maybe one of the most insane races I have seen, especially the ending, which will be talked about, I assume, in Folklore. If you haven't seen it, go over there quickly. Go watch back the last, I would say, lap of that race. There is enough in that to talk about for a lifetime. But what we can focus on today is Tier 5. There are a whole host of drivers, roughly 20, that are competing this season. There are new liveries. There is a new handling model. There are new drivers in the tier, from Tier 6 from before, from Tier 4 going backwards, from new drivers joining the league for the first time and getting to be involved. There is so much to talk about. So let's start at the very beginning. Last season, Tier 5 was one of the most fun series that has existed in MRL. It created some of the greatest GIFs and the greatest memes that I've ever had the pleasure of being a part of. But this season, we've got a couple new drivers, a couple new faces. I'll try and run through the order as much as I can, but what we can see is the following teams. Of course, we have the Visa Cash App RBs with our wonderful lobby host this season, Bum, who, yep, that is unfortunately his name, and also Terms will be alongside them. They are the Visa Cash App RBs for this season. As for the Red Bulls, we do have Villeneuve and Normbash, two of the more recognisable names throughout the MRL calendar, specifically Normbash, who's been around forever, is one of the pit crew members, and we love him and thank him for his support entirely. And if you haven't become a pit crew member yourself, you can do so by clicking the join button below and subscribing for a small amount. You get to pick some of the tracks for every season, and you also get a fancy role that puts your name right at the top of the MRL server. As well, we also have the Williams pairing of Tolby and Great Ace, two drivers who we saw last season duke it out. Tolby has been in extra high spirits this season. I expect him to be very good. The Kick Sauber pairing of Echo One Medic and Benzo Slice. Benzo, near and dear to my heart as a driver, and Echo, who I know for a fact is rapid, will both be driving that beautiful line machine around the track. As for Ferrari, Monster Jammers and Angry Shadow, Monster Jammers being the TP for this season, replacing the Ferrari job and taking over the Tifosi's beautiful car. It'll be interesting to see what they can do. Jammers, of course, part of an illustrious Tier 6 Constructors winners last season alongside Zona, who didn't return this season. Jammers received P2 in the standings, despite the fact that his teammate got P1. That is a ridiculous feat, and they were one of the most dominant seasons I've ever seen in MRL. Other teams that we have the drivers for, Welshie and Muck Mage, driving for McLaren, potentially two of the best drivers on the grid. Muck Mage specifically, there's a lot of love for him, I know for a fact, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if we see him be near the front of the field. As I quickly scroll through to try and grab everyone else, we have the Haas duo of Nathan W's and Cypher. Nathan was absolutely blistering towards the end of last season. I would not be surprised to see him near the front of the field this time around. We have also the pairing of the Alpines of Nate OG and Newbie Shazam, who we haven't seen before. Xbox drivers for both of them, but both very talented and hopefully looking to come through the field better than the real-life Alpine, who actually had a good weekend today. If you haven't gone and seen the race yet, I won't spoil it. But they've done a very good job to get to where they are, and I expect them to be at the front. And the two Mercedes drivers that we also have on the grid currently, Deathman and Ghost Rider, two very talented drivers indeed. The two drivers we are missing today are the Aston Martins. I believe we do have them coming. I believe a Marmo will be one of them, but we are currently just looking to see if they turn up for the race. I believe there is some issues, technically speaking, right now for the Aston Martins. I believe it's Snoop Francis and Omamo. They are currently trying to join in. Omamo is stuck in traffic, and Snoop is just crashing out repeatedly, which obviously is not what we want to see. But if you do have any questions, stick them in chat. I am a solo man today. I will do my best to try and keep up with everything. It's going to be impossible, but I will do my best to have you up, chat. It's a pleasure to have you. Hello, Gavin. Hello, Welshie. Hello, Jacob. It's 2 terms. My bad. 2 terms. And Sandman, it is a pleasure to see you all. I can't wait to see what the season brings. It's going to be chaotic. If tier 6 was anything to go by, there is unpredictability in the air. But you know what we should do? We should stop looking at my face and let's start looking at the actual race, because right now we are getting into qualifying. I believe I've got this set up correctly. I don't, because of course I don't. There we go. Why is that over me? There we go. I'm smart. I know how to do streams, I swear. Right. We do have the stream coming up. It will be potentially one of the most chaotic races, chaotic seasons. But of course, we still have to get through our first qualifying session. If you're new here and haven't seen a race before in the MRL system, we do a short qualifying session. That is an 18-minute qualifying session where you get 3 sets of softs, 1 set of mediums, sometimes 2 sets of softs and 2 sets of mediums, depending on your strategy. And the aim is to set the fastest lap possible. The driver who ends up on pole will start on pole. There is no in-between, there is no sprint race here. And of course, that will be determined very, very quickly. We do not have, if we have a weather update from the people on track, that would be lovely. As we're going to need that, I feel like, at some point, because it does look a little bit overcast currently and a little bit misty around the Barcelona-Catalunya track. It'd be very interesting to see if there will be any rain today. But we do have, I believe, our first cars going out, and it will be a Haas, but it will not be of Welshie, or of Nathan, sorry. It will be of Cypher. I look to try and change cameras and forget what button they're bound to. That's what all of that spamming was, if you were wondering. But yes, we do have the Haas will be the first one on track. Unfortunately, Haas and Ferrari have very similar looking... they almost made contact already on their outlaps here. Both drivers trying to get some room. Well, she wanted to go out first, but Cypher definitively says no. But yes, the Haas's on the track map today, unfortunately, have that red Ferrari-esque colour to them, which will make them hard to differentiate from the Ferraris. Hello, Bouncy. It's a pleasure to see you, bud. But yeah, outside of that, I feel like this is going to be a pretty good day. We've got 18 drivers on track. I hope to say, as I forget to actually launch the thing that I was meant to launch, so give me one moment, ladies and gentlemen. Definitely just running over to launch something that someone would be very mad. Chatton, congratulations on your race win, by the way. In the chat, the race winner for tier is number 6. As we get our first flying lap underway, and it will be Cypher to cross the line first. Let's see how well he does on the soft tyre. Up into 8th gear. Heavy braking just after the 75-meter point. Oh, and he's lost it! Cypher goes round at turn number 1, and that will be his lap over as he whips the car back around and now has to patiently wait for the McLaren to go through. It'll be Welshie then who will set our first representative lap time. Heading now through turn 4. Heavy braking at the 50. Try not to lock the tyres up. The new handling modelling game coming into effect for the first time. It's going to be quite difficult for all these drivers to get to grips with it. We've already seen one victim in Cypher. Now we'll see if Welshie will be able to make it round the lap. Does a pretty good job. Keeps it just about on the track. If the lap is invalidated, you will see the track map in the bottom right go red. And you can see Welshie fully committing that car into the corner, but it is just a little loose on the rear end. Mercedes gets out of the way. Now the final 2 corners. Avoid the bump on the left-hand side. That hasn't been patched out yet. You will be sent skyward if you do clip it. Oh, Welshie has a massive moment there, but will keep the car on track. It's a 13.5 to be the first driver across the line. We do have, I believe, it will be the kick across the line next of Echo 1, who will go and set a 17.6, a little slower than them. Now it's a Red Bull. Normbash will cross the line. So Villeneuve will cross the line at a 13.6. Not a bad lap at all. Now, potentially, I believe it is Cypher who will start their flying lap once more. Mercedes across the line. There's Ghost Rider, goes 16.7. And everyone just getting to terms, getting to grip with the new systems that we have here, the new feel to the cars. Nate OG will set a 15.3. For some of these drivers, it may be the first time they've stepped foot in this new handling model. As you see, a great lap there from Nathan W's to put him currently top. But here comes Monster Jammers, and from P2 in Tier 6 to P1 in Tier 5 currently. Great lap for the Ferrari TP, as Normbash will go P3, and Echo 1 has unfortunately left the lobby, and hopefully he will be able to get back in. Across the line now comes the Mercedes of Deathman, who puts it P2. Now the McLaren across the line. This will be Welshie, I believe, going for a second flying lap. So continually running on that set of tyres here, it's dangerous to do because of the fact that you can completely lose the rear end. But a great lap there from Angry Shadow, and it is currently a Ferrari 1-2 with a second difference between them. Across the line comes the Haas. That was of Cypher, only an 18.7, not the greatest lap from them. Now the Williams across the line of Tolby to start their flying lap, but the Alpine behind him of Nate OG is starting a flying lap and does a 15.2, 10th faster than his previous. Merc across the line. I believe it is Ghost Rider to start a flying lap. Got the DRS wide open, but you will see a lot of cars coming around the final corners. Normbash will box, his lap done and dusted. And into the pits behind them does come the Ferrari as well. Meanwhile, in the final sector, it is Welshie, who is 3 tenths down and has backed out of the lap. You see the battery charging as they come around the final corner. They have not improved at all. 15.3 in the end for them. As there's been a car going off the track. That would be one of the Mercedes drivers. That's Deathman, who's gone and lost it. Meanwhile, around the final corner comes the AlphaTauri, formerly known as the AlphaTauri, now the RB. 0.2. As chat is quite annoyed at the fact that Shadow is in this lobby because they feel like it's a free championship. Oh, Tolby will set a 13.1 to put himself P5. And behind him across the line comes Benzo Slice, who starts their first flying lap. Chat, you can't immediately just write off everyone. Not fair. Meanwhile, hey, you never know. People might not win every race. I mean, there's... Oh, what a crash! Oh, and Bubba's gone completely round. Good Lord. Oh. Bum just had maybe one of the most thrilling crashes I've ever seen. As meanwhile, Normbash has been DQ'd for blocking the pit lane. And I don't even know how he's done that. But he has. So Normbash will now start at the back of the grid. As Benzo, who was on a lap, goes round. And he will not be completing his flying lap. Here comes Two Terms. We will look to cross the start-finish line to get involved in that top fight. We'll go P6. 13-2. 2/10 off of the second row of the grid. But a pretty decent lap nonetheless. Meanwhile, here comes McMage to start their flying lap. It's the driver I've got my eye on this season to be competitive at the front. But it does require him to have a very good qualifying session. Round the first two corners, done a great job there and has kept that car planted. Now the run up to 4. So 21.9 first sector. It's a little better than I've seen other drivers do. As meanwhile across the line there came the Red Bull. I believe that was of Villeneuve to start their flying lap. And then Nathan now coming around to start theirs. That's the red car coming down the main straight as is. Oh, a big moment there for Mark Mage, but no invalidation. Does a great job of keeping it together. Now the run down the DRS straight. Heavy braking has gone purple in the middle sector, has Mark Mage. But can he keep that pace going? Now around the final sector. It's one of the hardest sectors to nail just due to the fact that you've got to risk it over that bump. Now through the final corner. Hooks it up nice and neat. Doesn't go and overextend it. It will be a decent lap. It's good enough for P5. And Mark Mage will split Nathan and Toby. Meanwhile, Nathan, 2.5 tenths off of his personal best. As here comes Villeneuve, who is up by 4 tenths here across the start-finish line, will go P4, a thousandth off of P3. As meanwhile, Bum will start his next flying lap. Cross the line now. I believe the next car to cross the line will be Shazam, who we haven't seen set a lap yet. Shazam in the Alpine this season. Their first season in MRL. Edge, I will not be able to invite Snoop, I'm afraid. He will have to be the lobby host or someone in the pits. Shazam starts their flying lap. What will the Alpine be able to do? You can see that car. You can see just the handling model currently. Chat is having an absolute seizure over Angry Shadow's time there. Oh, Shazam has completely gone off at turn 4. To be fair, it is fully understandable, chat. I get that. But, come on. Like, focus on the rest of the field, alright? For the love of God. There are other drivers on the track, and they deserve just as much attention as Angry Shadow, because all it takes is for him to get speared into turn 1, and none of the pace difference matters. Alright? He could be dead at turn 1. We don't know. There we go. There we go. Get some positivity for others. JT, shut up. Here comes Shazam round the final corner. Oh, he's almost lost it at the final corner. He's done a great job to keep the car going. He'll put himself ahead of Nate OG. Meanwhile, here's Benzo, the only other driver not to set a lap so far, as Snoop has finally been able to get into the lobby. Across the line he will come, gets all over the grass on the inside, but keeps it clean, and it's going to be a 13-7, and he's just outside of the top 10. Now, believe it is a Ferrari. Oh boy, he's gone faster. He's gone several tenths faster. And the chat goes wild. I'm waiting for it. I'm just watching chat at this point. There it is. Yeah, he has really improved himself. Angry Shadow has improved himself massively. There are people that are enraged. I love it. I mean, we've had drivers with incredible pace before in the wrong tier. I mean, I've seen drivers in tier 6 and tier 5 set quality laps faster than tier 3 and 2. Like, that's happened before. Punju, thank you for becoming a member of the MRL pit crew. I don't know why you weren't already. You eat shit. Apparently that was a used tyres improvement as well, notably. Meanwhile, Cypher, who was on for a lap, has invalidated it, so it will not be an improvement. As Angry Shadow now, you can see, just nursing the car into the box. Look at the Mercedes in front of him. The Mercedes of Ghost Rider, just wiggling. Is it? Oh no, it's Deathman, my apologies. I quickly now have to try and get something up and running. I need to make sure it is functioning. And it isn't, unfortunately, so this is problematic. I do apologise, ladies and gentlemen, for the pause in display. I'm trying to get the live timings going, but I don't think they're going to work, unfortunately, so... Let's get back to the qualifying, shall we? We got 2 turns on a flying lap. 400ths off his pace in the first sector. Monka Slims flashbacks. 2 turns now. Onto the DRS straight. It's not been a bad lap at all, but it's still 3/10 off the pace. Meanwhile, Bum, who last lap did a 13.9, is looking to go faster in that RB. Did we call it the Visa? I think we have to call it the Visa. That's gonna hurt. I don't want to have to call it that. Anyway, here's Nate OG, who is improving. He's up by 3.5 tenths. Will cross the line. What can he do? He can go faster than his teammate. 10.5 ahead of Shazam. That's P14 for him. Meanwhile, the Red Bull behind of Villeneuve will start their flying lap. Villeneuve on for a potential P2 here. V-Carb, Toro Rosso, Blueberry, Red Bull. Call it the Virtual Payment Company. Honestly, that's like a lot. That's a lot of different names. Guys, can you vote? Can we put a vote in chat? We got a mod that can put a vote in chat. See what we're going to call them. It's specifically with tier 5. Oh, Angry Shadow has Ego retired. Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, there was an Ego retire in tier 6. Like, that did happen as well. It's not unheard of, guys. If you've not watched a stream before. To be fair, this is insane. I don't know how this has happened either. Anyway, I've just realised I've had my light off the entire time, so let's get that on. You can see my face a little better. Look at that. How nice and pretty. The gap is unheard of, that's sure. Right, here comes Nathan. Nathan, I'm not sure what he's been cooking this lap, but it doesn't look like an improvement. It's a little slower, and by a little, I mean 1.5 seconds off the pace. As across the line now comes the Alpine. I believe that was of Nate, just going for a second flying lap. Red Bull Villeneuve doesn't improve. Can the other Alpine, who starts their flying lap in Shazam? We've got a Williams coming around. This is... No, that's not a Williams. Well, it is a Williams. It is Toby. I thought so. Either way, here's Ghost Rider also starting a flying lap. As across the line comes Deathman to start his flying lap. We are at the death of the session, ladies and gentlemen. The final 35 seconds as everyone starts to get their final laps in. Snoop Francis, the only Aston Martin driver, will be able to get their one and only lap in, as there's been a massive lock-up into turn 1, and that would be for the kick driver. Across the line comes the Ferrari. Is it the Ferrari? No, it's not. But meanwhile, the other Ferrari is actually going rapid as well for what would be P1 of tier 5.5. Can he find his way across the line? It's a little laggy, and he's invalidated the final corner. He literally matched his personal best, so he will not improve. The Deathman is improving. Villeneuve pulls into the pits. He will not improve. Here comes the other Alpine of Shazam. Can he improve? He can. Goes P13. McLaren has boxed. It'll be the Williams next. Chosen Tolby, who was down in the middle sector, has pulled back 3/10. Goes P3. Deathman improves up to P2. Across the line now comes the kick of Benzo. P9 only. The Aston Martin of Snoop Francis. Only P14. Only driver left that can really set a lap would be Ghost Rider, but he's gone and invalidated. He would have been in P15 no matter what. Cypher, the final driver, to set a representative time, goes 15.3, and that will be all for the qualifying session. Deathman will take P2 from Tolby at the death there. Jammers, who was certain, sat in P3. 107% rule. We've got no Ragunathans in this lobby. Not a single one. Not a single Ragunathan. If Great Ace, do you want to retire, please, mate? We've got Deathman will start alongside Angry Shadow on the front row of the grid. It'll be a Ferrari from a Merc. Williams will be P3, 3 constructors in the top 3, then the TP of Ferrari in P4, and our Red Bull in P5 in Villeneuve, Welshie P6, Nathan will go P7 ahead of McMage. Look how close it is, from P5 through to, down all the way to P11, is separated by 0.2. Ridiculous. Everyone is still ignoring the fact that Shadow can still be dead at turn 1. This is still tier 5. I don't think you guys have ever seen a tier 5 race before. There will be death, there will be chaos, and there will be miracles. People you don't expect to win, say Nathan, will find their way to the front. They line up alongside McMage on the 4th row of the grid. Benzo P9 alongside 2 terms, rounding out the top 10. Great Ace and Bum will round out 11th and 12th. Shazam in 13th alongside Snoop Francis in the Aston Martin. Ghost Rider P15 alongside NATO G in the other Alpine. Cypher and Echo 1 will be P17 and 18. And Normbash, who unfortunately retired and caused a DSQ due to his positioning and an unsafe parking at the exit of the pit lane, or the entry of the pit lane, has been DSQ'd and will start from the back of the grid. And it looks like a dry race. So now we will see whether or not we have chaos. Chat, predictions. Does Shadow make it through turn 1? Yes or no? Because that's the real question here. Because if he does make it through turn 1, obviously there's still the opportunity by safety cars. I don't think he's 2 laps faster. Let's go sugar-free Red Bull. Thank you, Johnny. Johnny Cussenberry. JT saying last the first challenge for ITP dive bomb to turn 1. I don't put it past the Ferrari TP to do that. Who else we got? We got yeah, let's go French Tractors. Visa cash up, buy one get one free. That's a great call, Dominic. I think that was Who was it that said that? Was it Vowles? Was it James Vowles? Called them the buy one get one free F1 team. Either way, we have 5 red lights for the Spanish Grand Prix, the opening round of the MRL F1 season, and it's been a good start for Deathman, who's got alongside already as it lags down a turn 1, but Jesus, Angry Shadow uses the ERS, locks up in a turn 1, but gets the job done, and there's contact behind, and is there already a spinner, people all round, and that is a lot of smoke, but Angry Shadow has already gapped the rest of the field at the front of the field. Tolby up to P2, Deathman P3, it's Villeneuve up to P4, and Nathan P5, as now wide goes, I believe that's Tolby, and Tolby's round. Oh, and there's a crash. There are several crashes. Tolby's upside down. Safety car is out. Tolby was upside down. Oh my god. Can we get the medical team out to Tolby, please? Medical team to Tolby. Oh, so a bit of damage for everyone, it seems. We've got a couple of drivers who will need to box. Angry Shadow will stay out to lead the way. He will collect the safety car. Meanwhile, in comes Villeneuve, who seems to have damage as well to his front wing. Who else will follow him in? It appears no one, except for potentially just Trump. 2 turns. Oh my god. Someone clip it. I told you Tier 5 does this every season. Every single race, every single season. Tier 5 creates drama. So, from what I can tell, Tolby had contact with Deathman at turn 2, which is why Deathman was sideways and why Tolby was up to P3, or P2 originally. Tolby then has front wing damage from that contact, goes off at 4, tries to rejoin, hooks it, spins back onto the track, and is walloped by someone, as we've had a retirement. Huh? Where? How is someone dead? Huh? Great Ace has disappeared from the land of the living, and both Williams are out before lap 3. Okay. Who's the Williams TP again? Who is it? Is it Tolby? Because if it is him, this may not be an image he wants to see. Welcome back to MRL. That flip reminds me of, like, you know, remember the old, like, 2014, 2015 games where you could ramp off, like, in Spa? You could just ramp it and go flying. That's what that looked like. I haven't seen that in years. That is ridiculous. Oh my god. Right, should we have a look at what tyres everyone's got on? Let's have a look. We've got mediums all the way through the top 6. Snoop Francis, who, by the way, I want to point out just the position gain from him. Absolutely phenomenal. Started P14 up to P7. Meanwhile, NATO G up 8. Season 6, Tier 4 salary. That is a throwback bouncy. I wasn't even around back then. Oh. So Great Ace has been DNF'd by the game. Well, that's lobby info. But that's lobby issues for you. That's normal. I mean, that happens quite often, Fatweed. It's happened to all of us, I think, at least once. But yeah, no, that's... The best part is, Tolby was involved in 2 pile-ups in both corners. Like, it was him both times that was involved. As the safety car will be in this lap, and it will be a Ferrari leading us away as the Deathman immediately almost rear-ends Angry Shadow, which would be one way to give him a 10-second time penalty. We do have one penalty on the track currently. I believe that's for a heavy collision. I'll have to double check it. It is, yeah. Bum, who was also involved in the crash. Either way. Oh yeah, first person would have been insane. Either way, it is time for the restart. The Ferrari will lead us away. We can go whenever they want to, and they've elected to go now. It will be Deathman who will follow them across the line. And it is a very bad restart because Deathman is right there in the rear view mirror. But Deathman's under pressure. Here comes Nathan W's. Looks for the move, can't find it, as now the pressure begins to mount. Can Angry Shadow get as good a start as he did at the start of the race last time out? Meanwhile, behind them, Monster Jammers, Benzo, Markmage, Snoop, Nadoji, Welshie, and Shazam round out your top 10. Alpine now have both drivers in the top 10 already. Biggest loser so far, Villeneuve, was P5 on the grid, was up to P4, is now down to last as all Echo's gone round. And has collided with the side pod of Villeneuve. And has spun it again on the exit. Does need to get that car facing the right way. And just ease it back in. And he's done a good job of that. Meanwhile, Deathman has done a very good job here. He's stuck with Angry Shadow. He's dropped Nathan completely, but he's within that second, for now, of Angry Shadow. If he can stay within the second, DRS is enabled next lap. It's gone. It's gone. Well, let's wait for the safety car, ladies and gentlemen. Right, we've got Angry Shadow leading the way. Jammer's in P4. Well, we've got Benzo now chasing him down. Benzo looking for the move here. Into turn one. He's got the overlap. Got ahead before the braking point. Clear as day. Jammers tries to brake late, but can't keep with him. And Benzo slices up to P4. Great move for the Kick Sauber team. Meanwhile, behind the Muckmage. We had a pretty decent qualifying. P8 for him has gone up 2 off the start, mainly due to Villeneuve and Tolby being way down the order. And Villeneuve, by the way, has been making absolute moves up the field. He's up to P12 already. Yeah, good call there, Sizzle. Yeah, we'll check on him eventually. Tyres, oh yeah, good shout. So we've got a couple of people on the mediums, and Villeneuve, who, by the way, was involved in that lap 1 crash and had to get a new front wing, is on the softs. So that's the reason why he's been able to make his way through the field so quickly. Mediums seem to be the tyre to start on, though Ghost Rider also went for the hards, which is an interesting choice, and it doesn't seem to have worked out for the Mercedes. Meanwhile, across the line now, Angry Shadow will start lap number 6 in the front of the field. The gap 1.4 to Deathman, another 1.8 back to Nathan, another 1.5 back to Benzo. As now Jammers is under pressure. Oh, and there seems to be another battle going on. As here goes Welshie up to P8, overtakes Nado G like it is no problem. That is the power of the DRS in this game. It is brutally strong down a main straight, especially one as long as Spain. But still, maybe that straight line advantage isn't doing him any favours, because both Alpines are both over the back of him now. The lock up there, I believe that was Jammers. No, sorry, it was Benzo, who is trying to chase down Nathan W's. And you can see the pack has spread quite thin at the front. 1.5 second gaps at least between everyone else. Oh, there's a safety car, and it's for Bum. Bum's gone off into the wall, and that has nullified the Angry Shadow gap. But what that does also do now is it allows the soft runners the chance to box to hards. And I wonder if any of them will take it. I know who has taken it, and it is Monster Jammers, who, rightfully pointed out by our viewers in chat, has unfortunately picked up some front wing end plate damage, as in comes Shazam as well. And I wonder if they'll be replacing front wings here. They are. Jammers gets the new front wing. Meanwhile, the Alpine team, no new front wing, just the hard tyres. And he has closed that gap as in comes as well PNW Bum, and also I believe Cypher has found their way into the box as well, looking for those hard tyres. And Snoop Francis, who needs a new front wing as well. Unfortunate race for him so far. Hards do go to the end from here. We've had multiple laps of testing. It's roughly I think it's 25 laps they can do. So this is at the very high end of what they're capable of. But the hards will go to the end from this point. Also, Bum has to stay in the pits longer. If you're wondering why he has dropped all the way to the back, even though he has only had a broken front wing there, he also may have had that 10-second from colliding with Tolby. And so what that's done is it's brought him to the back of the field, and the Visa Cash App buy one get one frees are not having a good time. Meanwhile, at the front, it is still a Ferrari who leads the way. And if this was real life, we'd all be happy. But unfortunately, it's not. And it's a video game. And it's also a guy who is very quick, who is expected to be at the front. It is traditional viewership. Behind them, Deathman leads Nathan. Benzo P4 and the two McLarens now united in Symphony, 5th and 6th ahead of Nate OG, and the two Red Bulls who have found their way back into the points. Villeneuve on those older soft tyres now. Will be interesting to see what he's capable of doing. Pete, I will specify, Shadow wasn't fully pulling away from Deathman. He has pace, but I don't think he has that same pace that he does in quali. I think the race pace's advantage is much less than it did appear in qualifying. Meanwhile, down the order, we've got Echo. Is the last of the runners to have not boxed. He is P12, the last of the actual runners who haven't boxed yet. I will not be able to get Ghost Rider back in, I'm afraid. He'll need to join off someone else. I think Bum will be able to do it. Jammers, meanwhile, on the fresh mediums. Everyone else has gone for hards, and that's an interesting call from the Ferrari TP. Has gone for the medium tyre. He's expecting another safety car towards the end of the race, potentially, to go onto a set of softs. He started the race, I believe, on the medium tyre. So that might be something worth looking at when it comes around. Let's now get back to the front of the field as we work our way forward. It is Angry Shadow who will lead us away for the new safety car restart. And you can see him back in the field orb. Last time around, Deathman was very wise to his tricks and stuck with him for most of the lap. Up to, in fact, this very corner where he went too tight on the inside and clipped the curb and lost the rear end. Lost 3.5 tenths because of it. Angry Shadow this time, though, may look to try and hold even further back. And he has gone. He bolts at the second to last, and this time he's got a much bigger gap coming into the final corner. And that is already 7 tenths opened up. Shadow with a perfect restart as Deathman now finds himself under pressure from Nathan W's once again. Meanwhile, behind them, Benzo also breaks away as the two McLarens now sit 5th and 6th, comfortably clear of the rest of the field as well. Meanwhile, behind them, Normbash leads a pack of cars. Ghost Rider leading that one in 10th place. All stacked up behind as Jammers already goes round the outside of Echo 1 up to P13. Or up to P12, I should specify, sorry. Terms goes wide through turn 4. Through goes Jammers again. Potentially no. Terms does a good job of defending. But Jammers is not going to give up this position. Not going to give up without a fight. He knows he's faster. He's got the fresh tyres. And he wants to use them. Meanwhile, Villeneuve's made the move on Nate OG. Could be got onto the DRS straight. It's a great move for him. He gets ahead now and is able to chase down the two McLarens who had stretched a second over Nate by that point. Meanwhile, Jammers has that move done now, and he's all over the back of Ghost Rider, who is the last remaining car that has been sat in that queue. Oh, and Jammers is having to push him through the final corner. Carrying all too much speed, but this time gets the job done. Ghost Rider can't defend, but he will try to. Look at that straight line advantage, but the later braking of Jammers, and where on earth did Two Terms come from? Up the inside of both of them. Great double overtake from him to get back up into the points positions. P10 is his. Meanwhile, at the front, the gap 1.3 between the leader and P2. What an amazing overtake from Two Terms. Benzo still on the back of Nathan, though, who's just dropped outside of that second, back to Deathman. Older tyres for Two Terms as well. To be able to make that move is ridiculous. Meanwhile, though, Jammers is now all over the back of him. Ghost Rider falling further away. This time, the Ferrari should be able to get the job done. He will find his way around the outside, but Two Terms will collide with him slightly. Wheel-to-wheel racing here, all the way up the hill. Two Terms gives room. Jammers gets a little squirrely on the inside, and he's not able to get the move done. He'll have to settle behind for at least another 2 corners. Tries to carry the pace around the final corner, can't do so. Will go on board now with the Ferrari. As meanwhile, Villeneuve up to P6 now, ahead of Welshie already. This time, Jammers comfortably ahead before the braking point and will secure P10. Great job from the Ferrari TP. Meanwhile, up the road, NATO G hanging on to the back of Normbash, who has now also found his way past and has had a very good first sector to boot. Welshie, though, falling behind, has dropped a second to Villeneuve, who is chasing down his P5 that he feels he was unjustly robbed of by Tolby's incident on lap 1. You can see the Red Bull pushing as, oh, there's a spinner, and it's Benzo. Benzo has gone round completely. He's locked up, potentially. The rears have completely gone in the hairpin. And what has happened is he's had to give up the position to Jammers. Meanwhile, Shazam now is going wheel to wheel with Two Terms. This is a great little battle as well. But Benzo has thrown away what was a P4, closing on P3 now, and is now on the verge of losing out on all points. Meanwhile, here comes Shazam. Up the inside. Clean as you like. Already done before the braking point. Two Terms late on the brakes, but not enough to get the move back. Yeah, great job from him to keep that car away from danger. But the recovery drive from the Red Bulls is something you're going to have to keep an eye on, because still Villeneuve comes forward now. McMage next on his hit list, and he is within the second mark. With P16 off the first restart on lap 5. By the end of lap 6 was up to P12, was now recovered by lap 12 to P5. Back where he started. This is a yellow flag in sector 2, and it's for Snoop Francis, who I think has lost it and has lost a bit of his front wing there. The right end plate is gone, and you can see him holding outside, as meanwhile behind Bum and Ghost Rider go wheel to wheel, and it's Bum who goes through. He's also missing his front right end plate. As meanwhile, Villeneuve has the move done on McMage into turn 1, and now is chasing down Nathan, who has caught the back of Deathman. He may be a little quick, maybe, but there's still another safety car at least in this race. I have a gut feeling of it. I think within the next 5 laps we'll get a safety car, if that. And that will bring the field right back together again. Nathan putting pressure on Deathman, and there's a yellow flag, and that is for Echo 1, who's just lost it on the way up the hill. It's not been a good race for the Kick Sauber driver. In fact, it's not been a great race for either Kick Sauber driver in reality. Benzo was up in P4, is now down to P10, and the other one has fell back down to dead last. Here is our race leader. Here's our 10-minute checkup. Managing his tyres, managing his fuel, managing his ERS. He's doing a very good job at keeping that pace up altogether. Meanwhile, behind them, it will now be Deathman looking in his rearview mirror as a rocket comes flying by. And that was apparently Nathan W's in that car. That did not look like a Haas at all, but he has found his way through and is up to P2. What an absolute dynamo down the straight. Ooh. Takes the lead of tier 5.5. That may be the fastest Haas I've ever seen. Meanwhile, looking behind them now, McMage has slowly been pulled along by Villeneuve here because Villeneuve has caught the back of them. And to think he's doing this as well on older soft tyres. Ridiculous pace advantage from him, as you can see now Echo 1 getting out of the way of the front four of this tier 5.5 train. As, oh, it's a moment there as Nathan and Deathman almost come to blows. Villeneuve almost comes to blows with both of them as well. Tight fighting here between all three of them. And now that's brought McMage into the mix. But Villeneuve, oh, what an exit that is. Now chasing down Deathman, who himself is chasing down for P2. Oh, goes to the outside. There's contact, but he gets the job done. The Red Bull's up to a podium spot. P3 secured for Villeneuve as one of the toughest moves I've seen round the outside. Now chasing down P2. He's made his way through as there's been a pile of smoke. That would be for Angry Shadow. Unfortunately, it's not a spin. Oh. Can we have this in real life, please? We do. It's called Verstappen. Villeneuve flying through the field right now. Can he get his way onto P2? He's been doing a great job of working his way through the field. Now he's got the pace, potentially, to get the job done on Nathan. Half a second the gap coming onto the straight, but you can see, didn't want to go for it there. It's not the best place to overtake because of just how deadly the DRS is down that main straight. And you can see him eyeing up the move. He's taking his time with it. Meanwhile, behind them, if you're wondering, Normbash under pressure from Monster Jammers, who's now up to PA, as there's a yellow flag, and that would be for Echo 1. Getting out of the way, never mind. As into the pits comes Nathan. And Nathan bails on the battle before he loses P2. And that may be the smartest move we've seen from him all day. As now, McMage gets the move done on Deathman. He's up to P3. Into the pits as well comes Nato G and Normbash at the back of the field. Where is Nathan going to feed out, though, is the real question. He's coming out of the pits now. That is the kick Sauber of Echo 1. That is a lapped car. He's come out ahead of his teammate. So he managed to get a full pit stop on his teammate. Real life PTSD. Oh. Meanwhile, this battle for third, I'm not showing it, and I do apologise for not. McMage is under intense pressure from Deathman, who has been one of the quicker drivers. He was the one that chased Angry Shadow down at the start and tried to keep that gap to him, but just wasn't able to do so. Now, he's under pressure, now has been overtaken by multiple drivers, and now is having to fight his way back past McMage. Will he go into the box? No. Both stay out. Villeneuve will box, though. On those soft tyres, I assume for mediums to the end. As into the pits, also behind comes the McLaren of Welshie. Very important that Welshie gets a good stop here as well, as there's a yellow flag, and we're not sure for who. As Echo 1, I believe now, pulls off the road entirely to try and get out of the way of the traffic. You can see the gravel being kicked up onto the exit of the track, as Echo 1 has now officially been lapped by everyone but Snoop Francis, who is just making their way around right now in P16. But back at the front, it's our bi-monthly checkup on the race leader. You know, he doesn't look all that out of place. He's doing a great job currently. He's managing his tyres, and you have to think he'll be boxing within the next 3 to 4 laps for a pair of soft tyres to the end. You can think he probably might be waiting for the safety car as well, just due to the nature of it. He doesn't need to box. He's got the pace advantage. And you can see, yeah, he stays out for one more lap. The number 7 Ferrari. Honestly, yeah, we could probably do a live comms. Either way, Deathman under pressure from McMage. He's got back past, but now McMage is within a tenth second behind, sorry. Might look for a move down the main straight. Here's that DRS advantage. Not enough to get the job done. Meanwhile, here is the note here. Villeneuve comes out ahead of Terms, who is holding up Nathan W's currently. Nathan needs to get this move done now to get back onto the back of Villeneuve. And he has done, clean as a whistle. Just drive while talking. Yeah, pretty much, yeah. Villeneuve, meanwhile, has almost caught Shazam and will probably be tackling him around the DRS zone, which will be perfect for him if he wants to get the move done. There's a spinner, and it's Terms inside of turn 3. And he's going to have to be careful on the rejoin. In fact, Cypher's gone round as well at turn 2. And that's 2 cars stopped on track here. Cypher does need to get that car going again. And he's done so just about. As meanwhile, Snoop Francis will now come across his slowing car. But the Haas team having a pretty bad idea right now. That's not what they wanted. McMage will now be the first of the front 2 remaining out on track to box. Deathman will stay out longer. Jammers also stays out. Benzo stays out. Shazam also stays out. But look who's just caught the back of him. Here comes Villeneuve. The straight line prowess of that Red Bull is something that cannot be understated. Bye-bye, Alpine. That's real life. That is the real life. That is ridiculous. As meanwhile, there's a yellow flag, and it's for Bum. No, sorry, that was 2 turns. 2 turns has gone off. But Bum has been overtaken by Normbash. So the other Red Bull now up to P10. He is also boxed for new tyres. As Nathan now 4.5 seconds back from Villeneuve. These two were fighting in the same pack. And it's now a 4.5 second gap between them. That's the power of traffic. It's 5 seconds now. Villeneuve is either lapping insanely fast right now, or he is doing the traffic management of a god. One of the two is correct, as McMage will receive a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. And note the positioning of Muck as well is 1.2 behind Nathan with much fresher tyres. I wouldn't be surprised if he found a way through at some point soon. Meanwhile at the front, Angry Shadow remains out. Lap 20 has now begun as there's a yellow flag, and I believe that is for Echo 1, who's gone off at the chicane. And is just struggling to get that car back on track. Oh, it has found the wall. And now needs to be careful not to reverse onto the track as cars come through. One car goes. Immediately tries to pull off, but there's just no grip because of the way they're situated on the track currently. The Mercedes behind them. That would be Deathman, who's also got a bit of grass on their wheels. It's ridiculous, isn't it? It's wild what we have on the grid. Benzo, by the way, still yet to appear. Angry Shadow stays out for one more lap. Deathman does as well. What about Jammers? Stays out. What about Benzo, who also hasn't boxed yet, I don't think. Does not box. I need to double check this. Have they boxed? No. Jammers technically has, but he's on a set of mediums that have done 14 laps. So the race leader, P2 and P4, all expected to stop again, as is anyone ahead of Villeneuve. But the fact that they haven't means that they are waiting for a safety car. 20 laps on mediums is wild, but that's, I think, where the pace is on them. I think they can genuinely go 20. Meanwhile, the gap now. Villeneuve slowly but surely reeling in Benzo. as Villeneuve receives a 3-second time penalty. And that can be incredibly choice for the rest of his race. As meanwhile, Angry Shadow chooses to stay out one more lap. But what about the other leading cars? Deathman stays out. Monster Jammers, who we all know also has to box, stays out. Benzo Slice, who has yet to box either, will stay out. They are waiting for another safety car. They have to be at this point. Meanwhile, I think we may be about to see a battle that could lead to one. MacMage is within half a second of Nathan W's coming down the main straight now. I mean, yeah, but we saw Villeneuve take them 15 laps, Bouncy. That's the thing. The softs are great. They can go forever. Them waiting this long for the softs is a wild option because they're just losing time. That leading pack are losing so much time to the rest of the field now that I don't know if it's going to be worth it. They'll be coming out around Welshie and Nathan, and it's just not going to be beneficial for them. Either way, MacMage makes the move up to P7 now. What would be, I believe at this point, a net P3 as it stands. As meanwhile now, coming around the final corner, Deathman finally pulls into the box. And he doesn't find the wall on the entry. Jammer stays out one more. What about Benzo? Benzo elects to box as well, and you can see him playing it a lot safer than what Deathman did. Both drivers enter the pit lane. They do not speed in, which is the key thing there. Villeneuve inherits P3, and now, where does Deathman come out? This is the driver who has been at the front for most of the race, and he will come out comfortably behind Mark and Nathan, and will be just out ahead of Welshie at the end, but will have the soft tyres to work with. As meanwhile, in front of him, there's a huge battle right now between Mock and Nathan as they go wheel to wheel now. Round turn 3, up to turn 4. Hopefully no silver hour nightmare. There won't be for them this time. But all that's going to do is give Deathman all the time in the world to catch up to them. And he already has. He's within the second. Coasting. Meanwhile, in comes our race leader. Nurses the car into the pit lane. Doesn't want to risk it. And it's a good pit stop as well for the Ferrari. As in comes the other Ferrari of Jammers, who much more hurriedly makes his way into the pits. Where will Villeneuve peter out here? Because we're going to see the race leader there on the right. And he is down the road, but the gap is not as big as you thought it would be. Less than 2 or just over 2 seconds, but the tyre advantage will make that impossible to overcome for Villeneuve. As meanwhile, through comes Deathman, ahead of Shazam, up to the podium's paying spot. He is now up to P3. 8.3 the gap to Villeneuve. If he gains just 5.2 seconds, he will get P2 here today for Mercedes. As meanwhile, Nathan finds his way past Shazam up to P4. Temporarily, Shazam still needs, I think, to box again. We'll have to double check that. No, Shazam might be going to the end here. 17 lap old hards. It's risky, but he might. Jammers should fly through the field. Well, he's got 2.6 to catch up to the 2 McLarens who are his first task. Benzo 3 seconds back from him. And the field is now quite spread outside of this front pack. The key ingredient here is Shazam, the slower hard tyre runner. As Deathman sets the fastest lap of the race, a 14.7 from him. I imagine that lap will not last for another one. I assume Angry Shadow is going to get a very quick lap here. As through goes Welshie, up into P5, locks up a little bit into turn 1, but gets the job done, and the McLaren will find their way through. As now, it's on MacMage. Can he follow his teammate through? As Two Terms receives a 10-second time penalty for ignoring blue flags, not moving out of the way of his teammate and the attacking Alpine of NATO G, and it has cost him dearly. He will now have to serve another 10-second time penalty, as there is a yellow flag and there is a bit of missing. Is that debris for Echo? It is. End plates are gone on both the front wing. Both sides of the front wing missing. And that is not good for the Kick Sauber driver. Meanwhile, at the front, the gap opens up. 14.1 that time around from Angry Shadow. That's 6/10 faster than what Deathman set last time around. Meanwhile, Deathman, the gap between him and Villeneuve has steadied at 7.2. Meanwhile, here comes Monster Jammers now, on the back of Shazam, but Shazam does have DRS, as Welshie. Oh, Welshie's got the move done on Nathan, and Nathan's under pressure now. Here comes Muckmage, sets up wide through 3. Oh, but no, Muckmage has almost lost the rear through 3, so he has to back out. Jammers now, putting pressure on the slower Alpine car. Tries to go around the outside. Does a great job of defending, does Shazam. Holds his line. But Jammers is just so much faster on those fresh softs. Shazam fighting the car around every corner. Jammers, I think, has collected the back of him. Round the outside into the heavy braking point, and as round goes Nathan. Nathan off at the hairpin. And that's another position for Jammers that he won't need to overtake because he's given it for free. Meanwhile at the front, the gap down to 6.6 now. If we continue at this rate, Deathman might just about get Villeneuve, but he'll need to find more time here. Meanwhile, Mockmage and Welshie sitting in each other's DRS here. They have to work as a team if they're going to keep Jammers behind on faster tyres with a fewer lifespan on the tyre as well. Meanwhile, Normbash overtakes Nate OG. Oh! Nate OG and Bum are going wheel to wheel, and Two Terms has come back through ahead of them. And Two Terms here is now being a buffer, unintentionally potentially, for his own teammate, stopping him from attacking Nate OG. And I wonder if that was intentional. Meanwhile at the front, couple of battles ongoing. Benzo's all over the back of Shazam. Yeah, blue flag should be in play. We've already seen Two Terms already has a 10-second for blue flags. As Jammers has gone off at the final corner. Jammers has lost a heck of a lot of time. The gap opens up to 1.5 seconds, nearly 2. And what was expected to be an easy scything through the field is now turning into a trek for the TP of Ferrari as he wanders almost off the track completely. Mockmage and Welshie swap positions. Or are they racing? Doesn't appear they're racing. As Two Terms gets another 10-second time penalty for ignoring blue flags. This time, not just for himself, but for his teammate and the Alpine who he's now overtaken. If he gets another 10, I think he gets DNF'd. Meanwhile, Benzo gets the move done on Shazam and is now almost a second off the back of Monster Jammers. And so now, both soft runners are going to have to fight their way through both McLarens. Two Terms is receiving blue flags. Bum has front wing damage. Reported by chat, yes he has. Missing right end plate. Great call there, Redeemer. Thank you very much for that. And that's why he's falling off the back of the Alpine. And I wonder where that was caused. I wonder if it's potentially even his teammate, who may have caused that, as Two Terms now receives a 3-second for multiple warnings. That's for running off the track and gaining an advantage. As now, through goes the Alpine. Two Terms this time lets them both through. But unfortunately, it's not going to matter too much because his damage has already been done as he retires on track. And that will be looked at by the stewards. Meanwhile, Jammers all over the back of MacMage, who's defending like a lion right now for Welshie. DRS enabled for both. Jammers dives to the inside. Will he get the move done? No. He's given the room though. Now wheel to wheel up the hill, but MacMage has the inside line and keeps ahead. But the gap now between him and his teammate is just about under a second. I don't know if he's going to get DRS. DRS is open. He's got it. Just about works out for the McLaren boys. As now here comes Benzo. Pushing at the revs of the 8th gear. Can't find a way through. Battle for P4. This is. You speak like Yoda. I will. Benzo fighting, trying to find a way through, but he can't do so. Jammer's the same issue right now. Those hard runners are doing their best to keep them behind, to fight another day. Welshie is doing an amazing job to give MacMage that toe. Basically Carlandoing it right now. But Jammers this time, much closer, better run. But it's just lost time coming out of the exit. MacMage, credit where credit's due, is placing that car superbly and is keeping within that DRS. He's not slowing down, but this time Welshie has gunned it a little bit. And Jammers is all over the back this time. But again, it's just had a poor final corner. Whereas Jammers was closing, now he can't. He'll have to send it from way back. Can't do it. 2 and a bit laps to go. As MacMage now, we look from his rear wing at the 2 aggressors behind him. And Jammers, you can just see the pace advantage of the soft tyre. Every single corner is closing in the braking, is closing in the apex, is closing on the exit, but can't seem to make it stick when it needs to. Bit wobbly this time for MacMage. But he's closer to his teammate, and that toe is doing wonders. But MacMage is struggling on those tyres, and you can see it, there's a yellow flag. And that, I believe, is for Snoop Francis. He's gone off at turn 2. Oh, and there's nearly been a collision. Ghost Rider has had to come to a complete stop, it looks like, to not collide with Snoop Francis. That may also be looked at, as off goes Snoop Francis now into the gravel. Meanwhile, back to the front pack. There's been an overtake. Jammers has got it done. Can MacMage stick it out around the outside? No, he can't. Now he's under pressure from Benzo. He can't get the job done. And it is Monster Jammers now who will chase down that other McLaren of Welshie. Up to the top of the hill, MacMage will have roughly 1 shot to get this right. Onto the final lap we come now. Round the final corner, Jammers barely within the DRS. It's TP versus TP for P4. But here comes Jammers. Burns the ERS up the inside into turn 1. Beautiful move up to P4. Welshie now has to find a way back through immediately. Welshie sits behind, tries to make him go deep in a 4, can't do so. Meanwhile, there's been a spin. I believe it's Nathan. Nathan will need to get off the track and may just beach himself in the gravel if he stays right there. But round the final corner comes Angry Shadow now to take what has been a dominant victory here at Spain. Angry Shadow wins the Tier 5 Spanish Grand Prix. Back to the battle at hand. Just get that out of the way, because we have to do that for formality's sake. Villeneuve, will he hang on? Yes, he will. Only 3 seconds. It's P2 for Red Bull. Deathman will not be able to close the gap to him. Jammers has done an amazing job to hang on here to P4. He's got back through the field. He will secure it ahead of the 2 McLarens. 5th and 6th for them. Muck Mage, with his 3-second time penalty, falls behind Benzo, but will secure P7. Shazam comes through for P8 for Alpine. Alpine's first points of the season. Normbash, who has had a tremendous race today, considering the circumstances, started at the back, finishes P9, and it will be Bum who will round out our points. P10 for Bum. As we now await just the final 2 stragglers to cross the line, it will be the other Alpine of NATO G to P11 and Echo 1 Medic, who still is lacking half of their front wing, will secure P16 and the final finishing position on the race. It has been one hell of a Spanish Grand Prix. Ho-ho! Villeneuve, driver of the day. I actually don't dispute that. I agree with that. Chat, do you agree with Villeneuve, driver of the day? Imagine a driver spinning over the top of you and you make contact with their halo and you get a penalty for it. That was what happened there to Bum. That is the reason Bum had that 10-second time penalty they had to serve when they got their damage to their front wing. But what I will say is that this has been an incredible Grand Prix. I would normally do interviews at this point. Unfortunately, I can't find the graphic, and I don't know how to do it without the graphic. Oh, what an impressive race. Welshie, an amazing job from you, mate. Great, very well driven, great battle to the very end. Absolutely wonderful watching those McLarens fight their way out. In the end, I will need to go now, as I need to get some sleep because I'm exhausted from watching Tier 5 again. But you will be here next week. I will be here next week for round number 2 of the Tier 5 season. Right now, Tier 4 has just started. Go check it out. It is also on YouTube right now, live on the MRL F1 channel. But of course, from me, it has been goodbye. And for the rest of MRL, we will see you next time.